Name's Rick Dalton. I run long haul out of Sioux Falls, mostly I-90 westbound into Montana or down through Wyoming if the weather allows. Trucking's not glamour, but it keeps me breathing. Used to think years behind the wheel would make things feel routine, like the more I drove, the fewer surprises I'd run into. That's not how it works. Road's like a poker game that doesn't end. You don't get better odds, you just learn which hands not to play. And sometimes, the damn table flips anyway. This run was supposed to be simple. Empty trailer westbound to pick up industrial equipment in Rapid City. Dispatch said clear loadout, no hazmat, no reefers, nothing time sensitive. It was early February, still dead winter out here. Left the lot before sunup, coffee in the cup holder, weather radio mumbling about light drifting snow and gusts up to 25. That stretch between Sioux Falls and Rapid, I know every rest area, every gas station bathroom that doesn't smell like chemical death. Flat land, long lines, and not a lot of drama, unless the wind gets ideas. Got past Mitchell by 9, fueled up there like usual. Snow started coming down, light but angry, little side wind building from the north. I didn't think much of it. South Dakota always throws a hissy in February. Plows were out, roads were white but drivable. You just keep your hands steady and don't get cute with the throttle. It was after Chamberlain I noticed it. At long grade before the river, I slowed down for a turnout on the right. Just a wide gravel patch for tired drivers or broke rigs. I wasn't stopping, no need, but I veered right a bit because some SUV had drifted half into my lane. As I eased back left, my trailer hopped. Not a full bounce, but a sharp little jar, like it rolled over a curb. Not enough to freak out, just enough to make me glance in the mirror. No blown tire, no flapping mud flap, nothing. I kept rolling, but something about it stuck with me. Could have been ice under the wheels or just uneven pavement. Those turnouts get chewed up bad in winter. Plows catching gravel, snowpack hiding ruts. Still, the hit felt too solid, like metal on rubber solid. I made a mental note to check the tires when I stopped for lunch. Rolled into Murdo around 11, pulled into that old Sinclair with the worn-out dinosaur sign. Snow was coming in harder now, not quite whiteout, but enough to haze the air. Parked next to a beat-up Peterbilt, ran inside for bad chili and worse coffee. Lady behind the counter had the same face I'd seen for 10 years. Never smiles, just rings you up and points at the napkins. I stood by the window with my bowl, watching the snow whip around the pumps. There were 2 other drivers in there talking about some guy jackknife near Wall the night before. I tuned them out mostly, just kept thinking about that jar I felt back at the turnout. It was dumb to fixate on it. Truck felt fine.
No alerts, no wobble in the wheel, and I'd done this route more times than I could count. Still, I couldn't shake it, like something under the surface didn't add up, like I'd missed a piece of the puzzle. Back on the road by noon. Weather hadn't let up, and the shoulder was starting to disappear under drifts. Not full-blown danger yet, but creeping that way. I kept my speed just under 60, played it safe. Around Kadoka, I hit the weigh station. Lights were on, so I rolled in. DOT guy waved me through the scale, then stepped out and flagged me for a quick inspection. Routine. Happens every so often. I've got nothing to hide. He went around the rig, checking tires, brakes, lights, usual stuff. But when he got to the back axle on the passenger side, he paused, squatted down, leaned in close. I watched in the mirror. He stayed there maybe 20 seconds longer than normal, then stood up and gave me the thumbs up. I rolled out, no ticket, no questions, just back on the highway. But it gnawed at me. What the hell was he looking at back there? Why linger like that and say nothing? If it was nothing, why the second look? I figured maybe I'd check it myself at the next truck stop. Still had daylight and a few hours on the clock, but I didn't like the feeling sitting in my gut. That's the thing about this job. You get good at reading your own nerves. Here's the usual stuff: idiot drivers, icy patches, brake lag on a downgrade. You learn to live with those, but when the road talks to you, really talks like a whisper under the engine noise, you better listen or you're going to pay. That weird jar at the turnout, the bent track in the trailer's pull, DOT guy acting like he saw something but didn't say it. Too much for coincidence. Something was off, and I wasn't going to sleep right until I figured out what. Ever feel something off under your rig and wonder if you should have stopped right then? I kept west after Kadoka, rolling slow but steady. Snow wasn't letting up, and the wind was pulling it sideways like curtains in a drafty room. That kind of wind gets under your trailer and nags at the handling. Not enough to throw you off, but enough to keep your knuckles tight. You feel like you're steering a kite. Normally, I'd make rapid by late afternoon, but I was already thinking about where to pull off before that grade east of Box Elder. I don't mess with that hill when it's iced over. Plenty of guys do, and some of them don't finish the trip. Me, I pick sleep over headlines. What got me, though, wasn't the weather. It was the trailer. Something about how it moved behind me didn't sit right. It was subtle, a kind of off-balance feel when I hit a crosswind or took a gentle bend. Not a full sway, not dangerous, but just not right. Like when your truck is loaded uneven and you feel it lean when it shouldn't. Only this load was light, damn near empty, so it should have been floating clean. I even double-checked the weight ticket from the yard earlier. Legal and level.
I started watching the trailer more in the mirrors, switching glances side to side like a twitch. Every gust, every patch of cleared road, I was tracking that box like it was trying to tell me something. Once or twice, I thought I saw the back end shift just a little more than it should have, like the rear axle was being lazy. But I told myself it could just be the wind. Around 2:30, I rolled into Wall. That old Flying J outside town had a few spots left between snowbanks. I slid in beside a livestock hauler, the kind that smells like wet iron and regret. Parked, killed the engine, and let the silence settle. Snow hissed soft against the windshield. I sat there for a second, hands still on the wheel, staring at nothing. Then I grabbed the flashlight and hopped out. Cold bit hard. Wind clawed my jacket open before I could zip it. I walked to the trailer slow, scanning the tires and frame, just like I'd do on a pre-trip. Nothing looked wrong at first glance. No smoke, no rubber shreds, no busted lights. But when I crouched by the passenger side rear and swept the beam low, I saw it. The outer tire had a gash. Not deep, not blown, but a slice through the sidewall, maybe 4, 5 inches long. Not fresh either. Edges were rough and dark, like it had been grinding through for a while. And then I saw the rim. The lip was bent inward, subtle but clear. Not curb rash, not pothole bend. It looked like something had caught between the tire and the road and wedged upward, pushing metal in like a spoon denting a can. I touched it, cold and jagged. I stood up slow, snow piling on my shoulders, thinking back to that jar at the turnout. That had to be it. That bounce wasn't the trailer hopping gravel. It was me running over something solid. Solid and sharp. Steel, maybe. Rebar? I'd seen it before in scrapyards. But what the hell would rebar be doing in a highway turnout? I climbed back into the cab, cranked the heat, and pulled my phone. Called Jimmy, my mechanic back in Sioux Falls. He picks up on the second ring like always. Rick? Yeah. You got a sec? Sure. You dead or just irritated? I got a rear tire gashed on the passenger axle. Rim's bent inward, like something got up under it and twisted the edge. He whistled soft. Blowout? Nope. Still holding pressure. But it ain't gonna last long. Where you at? Wall. I can lip it to rapids, maybe. Weather's trash, though. He didn't answer right away, then said, That kind of bend? You hit something tall. Steel post, maybe. You run over a rail or loose tie plate? I don't think so, but it felt like I hit something solid east of Chamberlain. Pulled right a bit near a turnout. Felt the trailer hop. Thought it was gravel. Jimmy grunted. Seen that damage before. Couple winters back, guy came in with damn near the same slice. Turned out he hit a cut-off rebar spike in a snowbank near a rest area. Someone dumped scrap steel to stop overnight parking. Plows bury it. You can't see it until it bites. And sat back in my seat, chewing that over. Who the hell dumps rebar on a turnout? DOT didn't. County sure as hell didn't. Probably someone with a grudge and a pickup bed full of solutions. You can file the report if you want. Good luck getting anyone to care. You think it's intentional? I think someone wants to keep trucks from parking in spots they don't like. Seen it in Ohio, seen it in Oklahoma. Cheap way to say, move along, without signs or tickets. I didn't say anything for a while. Just stared out the windshield at the snow blowing sideways. The livestock hauler next to me was rattling in the wind, but otherwise the lot was dead quiet. Jimmy broke the silence. You want me to send a tire truck out? Too far. I'll baby it to Rapid. Swap the wheel there. Don't push it too hard. That sidewall gives you're skidding sideways at 60. Yeah, I know. Hung up. Just sat there, listening to the heater click and blow. Outside, the wind howled through the gaps between trailers like it had secrets to tell. I leaned forward, elbows on the wheel, and tried to picture that turnout again. Snow hiding the gravel, wind pushing sideways. And under it all, maybe a line of jagged rebar buried just deep enough to stay invisible, just high enough to gut a tire. I didn't like it. Not just the damage, the feeling. The idea that someone had done it on purpose. Not for money, not for rage, just quiet spite. Hidden under snow, aimed at drivers who stopped where they weren't welcome. Like we're rats, and someone set traps, hoping we'd limp away without asking questions. But I had questions now, and I was pretty sure I wasn't going to like the answers. I slept like crap that night. Too much thinking. Every time the wind rocked the cab, I jolted awake, half expecting to hear the tire blow out or feel the trailer lurch. It held, but that didn't mean I trusted it. By 5 a.m., I gave up on rest, rolled out of the bunk, and brewed some awful gas station coffee in the little single-cup thing I keep behind the passenger seat. I drank it in silence, just watching the snow blur the windshield, thinking about that damn turnout. The plan was simple. Run light to Rapid, swap the bent wheel, finish the pickup, and get out. But that plan didn't sit right with me anymore. The more I thought about it, the more I needed to see that turnout again. Not a maybe, a need. I wanted to know what the hell I hit. I needed to look at it with my own eyes, not just guess at it from a bent rim or a story from Jimmy. So I made a call. Dispatch wasn't thrilled. You're what? Angie's voice cracked through the phone like static. I'm doubling back. Just an hour and a half max. I need to check something. We got your load staged at the yard. You're burning your clock. I'll make up time after Rapid. I'm running light. It's not going to kill the schedule. There was a pause on the line. The kind where you know they're scrolling through a screen full of numbers and not liking what they see. This about that tire? Yeah. I think I hit something buried. Rebar or steel. I need to see it. You're not a cop, Rick. Nope, but I'm the guy who's going to be on the hook when the tire gives out on the downgrade near Sturgis. So let me do this my way. She sighed. I could almost hear her roll her eyes. Fine, 1 hour. You missed the window at Rapid, that's on you. Fair enough. I threw it in gear and eased out of the lot, back east on I-90 into a pale gray morning. Snow was still drifting, but the plows had been through. Shoulders were half buried, road surface was slush with patches of blacktop. I kept it at 50, blinkers on. Traffic was light, only a few other trucks and the occasional SUV that thinks four-wheel drive is some kind of invincibility charm. Took me just under 90 minutes to reach the turnout. Empty stretch between exits, just a gravel patch off to the right, slightly sunken where truck tires had worn it into the earth. I rolled past it slow, then looped around at the next exit and came back westbound, parking on the shoulder opposite it with my hazards flashing. I crossed on foot. Wind was cutting across the plain hard now, slicing through my jeans like I wasn't even wearing them. Snow was knee-high in drifts, but you could still make out the shape of the turnout under it, sort of. Looked smooth from a distance, but up close it was broken, lumpy, uneven, like something was hiding under the surface. I pulled a short-handled flathead screwdriver from my jacket pocket. Don't ask why I carry it. Habit. Started poking at the snow, dragging little lines through it until I hit something solid. I cleared a patch with my glove and saw rust. Steel. Round bar. About as thick as 2 fingers. It was sticking up maybe 5 inches out of the gravel. Bent at an angle, like something heavy had hit it. I stepped back and looked again. Another one, a few feet away.
then two more, forming this lazy half circle like some amateur built a caltrop field and just left it for the next guy. I knelt beside one and traced the edge with my glove. It wasn't factory cut. Jagged tip, clearly torched off, probably scrap. Someone cut it, drove it into the gravel, and let the snow do the rest. If you rolled in at night or in a storm, you'd never see it until it ripped your tire open, or worse. I stood up and stared at the road. Cars flying by, nobody slowing down, nobody looking twice at me. I was just another shape in the snow. Not their problem. My mind kept circling back to Jimmy's words. Someone dumped it on purpose. Now looking at it, I believed it. This wasn't accident or neglect. This was placed. Somebody had gone out of their way to make this look like a turnout, but set it up to hurt anyone who used it. Not kill them, maybe, but damage them. Cost them time, money. Maybe drive them away.
I took a few pictures on my phone, just in case. Not that I thought anyone would care. I wasn't thinking lawsuit. I was thinking patterns. If it was here, maybe it was elsewhere, too. On my way back to the truck, I spotted a coffee cup jammed in the snowbank near the edge of the turnout. Faded plastic from some mom-and-pop diner, half covered in frost. Looked like it had been there a while. I left it alone. Back in the cab, I sat for a moment with the heat blowing on my boots, trying to make sense of it. Not just what it was, but why. What kind of person does that? A landowner pissed at truckers idling outside his fence line? Some angry county worker who's sick of drivers leaving trash? Or just some random jackass who gets off on making life harder? I didn't know. But I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't random. And now I was in it. Not deep, not official. Just enough to make the air feel a little colder every time I passed a turnout buried in snow. I pulled back onto the highway and headed west again, checking my mirrors like always. Only now I was looking at the road behind me a little different. Like maybe it wasn't just pavement and snow anymore. Maybe it had teeth. I made rapid just after lunch, rolled into the lot behind the warehouse where my pickup was waiting. The kind of place built fast and cheap, all corrugated walls and cracked pavement. The guy at the dock gave me a look when he saw the tire, then pointed at the trailer bay like he didn't want to know more. I didn't blame him. Got the load on without a hitch. Pallets of machine bearings wrapped tight, weight distributed even, and limped over to the truck stop near Deadwood Avenue to get the rim changed out. The tire tech, a kid with frostbitten ears and a Packers hoodie, didn't say much, but when he rolled the damaged rim out, he whistled low. Damn, what'd you hit, man? Rebar stake, hidden under snow at a turnout. They bury that kind of thing on purpose? I didn't answer. He went quiet and hauled the new wheel out of the van. After that, I had a few hours left before I needed to shut down. I didn't roll. Instead, I headed out to a DOT yard I remembered near Kennebec, not far off where I'd turned around earlier that morning. Not a big facility, just a low cinder block building with a chain-link fence and a couple plows parked out front, blades red with salt and old rust. I pulled the truck into the gravel patch outside and walked in. Guy behind the desk had the posture of someone who hated every part of his day. Late 50s, gray beard, trucker gut under a Carhartt vest. He looked up from his desk like I had interrupted something sacred. Help you? Yeah. Name's Rick Dalton. I drive long haul out of Sioux Falls. I got a question about a turnout east of here. Maybe you know something. He gave me that long look like he was flipping through some mental Rolodex labeled, "Not my problem." Which turnout?
Mile marker 238, south side, gravel pull-off. I hit something there yesterday. Bent a rim, sliced the tire. Looked like rebar stakes buried under snow. He didn't react. Not right away. Just leaned back in his chair and scratched his beard like he had a bug crawling under it. You take pictures? Yeah. I slid my phone across the counter. He didn't even pick it up, just glanced down, then leaned back again with a sigh. Jesus, he muttered, like I'd just told him his basement was flooding. You've seen it before? I asked. Not officially. What the hell does that mean? He stood up, slow, and walked to a filing cabinet, pulled out a manila folder, opened it, and closed it again without reading it, and tossed it back in. Not what he was looking for. Or maybe it was, and he didn't want to show me. 3 years back, he said finally, we had a report from a local carrier. Same kind of thing. Damage from a pull-off. Trailer axle busted. Claimed it was steel hidden under the snow. Guy filed a report with DOT. Nothing came of it. Why not? He shrugged. Because no one owns those spots. Not technically. They're not state-maintained, not part of the roadbed. Gravel shoulders, old construction pads, farmer land the county never reabsorbed. Means the state doesn't have to plow them, patrol them, or fix them. And nobody wants to take responsibility. So someone can just plant steel stakes and it's not illegal? Oh, it's illegal if you catch them doing it. But proving it? That's the trick. You gonna file a complaint? Will it matter? He looked me dead in the eye, like he was tired of pretending. No, unless someone dies, then it matters. That sat between us for a minute. He went back to his desk, cracked open a Diet Mountain Dew, and didn't offer me a seat. I leaned on the counter. So what, I just tell other drivers to stay off it and hope they listen? That's more than we're doing. He said, no shame in his voice, just resignation. I nodded, slowly, and turned to go. Halfway to the door, he called out, Hey, for what it's worth, that area's got some private land butting up close to the right-of-way. Ranchers mostly. They've been fighting truckers parking out there for years. Claims of noise, trash, piss bottles, engines idling all night. County stopped responding to calls years ago. So now they're handling it themselves? He didn't answer, just took another sip of his soda and went back to whatever paperwork was in front of him. Back in the truck, I sat with the engine off and the heater ticking. Snow was starting again, small flakes, fine and mean, the kind that doesn't seem like much until you realize the road's vanished underneath you. I thought about what the old man said. Not officially. Nobody owns it. Not our problem. I'd heard that tone before. Railroad cops saying the same thing about yards full of hobos. Border town deputies who didn't see nothing. People like that aren't evil. They're just tired.
Tired of fighting battles they don't get paid to win. But this one felt personal. Someone made a choice, went out to that turnout with a hammer and steel, banged it into frozen gravel, covered it with snow and walked away, knowing the next guy to roll in wouldn't see a thing. I wasn't mad, not exactly, but there was a burn in my gut that wouldn't go out. Not because I'd lost money, not even because of the risk, but because I knew, deep down, I wasn't going to be the last guy to hit those stakes, not by a long shot. I got back on the road after leaving that DOT yard, but I wasn't thinking about my route anymore. My logbook was fine, the trailer was good, and weather was steady. None of that mattered right then. I kept turning over what the old man said. Not officially. No one owns it, unless someone dies. That last part stuck to my ribs like cold meat. I've hauled a lot of loads through a lot of bad stretches, but this wasn't weather or breakdowns or stupid drivers. This was something else, something placed. That makes it different, makes it worse. I pulled into a rest stop outside Belvedere later that night, not even tired, just needing to not be rolling. Parked in the back row, killed the engine, and listened. You can tell a lot by how quiet a place is. This one hummed with tired engines and idling reefers, but it was the right kind of quiet, safe quiet. Nobody pacing around, no sketchy minivans. I brewed up some coffee, leaned back in the sleeper, and scrolled through my phone, looking at the pictures I'd taken of the stakes. Steel. Bent. Jagged. Rusted at the base. That wasn't highway debris. That wasn't a dropped load or leftover construction junk. That was work. Time. Effort. Somebody did that with a reason. I opened up a trucker group chat I'd been in for years. Nothing fancy, just a bunch of us sharing weather updates, bad receivers, and fuel prices that'd make a grown man cry. I dropped a couple pictures in the thread with a message. Turnout Mummum 238 I-90 SD.
Steel stakes under the snow. Tore a tire, bent a rim. Watch it. Didn't take long to get a response. Shit, you too? That came from Benny. Runs reefer out of Wisconsin. Always westbound loads into Idaho. I hadn't talked to him in months. You hit that spot? Same stretch, same damn thing. Last winter. Thought I'd clip the culvert, but shop said the rim looked crushed in. They called it impact from below. I didn't think to go back and look. Why didn't you say something? Who the hell do you say it to? DOT doesn't care. Sheriff don't answer. Dispatch just tells you to roll. Another guy chimed in, Manny, local hauls between Billings and Sioux City. He'd seen the pictures, recognized the turnout. I stopped there 2 weeks ago. Engine light came on and I needed a place to reset. Woke up to a flat. I figured it was just bad luck. I sat staring at those messages, and for the first time all day, I didn't feel crazy or alone. This wasn't one guy getting unlucky. It was a pattern.
And we had all just shrugged it off, ate the cost, and kept driving. I messaged Jimmy, sent him the photos again, and told him what the DOT guy said. He called instead of texting. So, it's a thing, he said. No question in his voice, just a flat statement like a diagnosis. Looks like. Jesus. That rim you brought in? If it had hit 3 inches higher, it would have bent the brake chamber. You'd have lost the axle mid-run. I know. He went quiet, then asked, You gonna file something? I don't know yet. You thinking about getting loud? Thinking about it. Well, he said, if you do, don't expect thanks. Most of the guys out there don't want to believe the road's got teeth like that. Makes the job feel less like work and more like survival. Nobody likes that thought. We hung up. I just sat there in the cab, hands behind my head, eyes on the ceiling. I'd driven hundreds of miles through storms and whiteouts, down switchbacks and frozen bridges. I'd patched lines at midnight in Wyoming winds that felt like razors. But this felt different, a new kind of risk. Quieter, closer. Next morning, I rolled early. No snow overnight, sky was clearing, light cutting through low fog like a dull blade. I made good time out of South Dakota, hit the Wyoming line by late morning. Every time I passed a turnout covered in snow, I found myself scanning for signs, dips, dark spots, anything that might be steel waiting to bite. I couldn't help it. Stopped for fuel in Gillette. While I was checking the straps, a young guy on a flatbed next to me struck up conversation. Hey, you Rick? I blinked. Yeah? I'm on that chat. Saw your pictures. He was maybe 30, scruffy, hands covered in road grime. Looked tired in the way new drivers get when they realize this job isn't the freedom they thought it'd be. That rebar's real? He asked. Yeah. I parked there once last fall. Nothing happened, but damn, I could have. I just nodded. He shook his head. What do we even do with that? I looked at him, then at my truck. Wind was picking up again. Drive different, I said. That's all we can do. He didn't say anything, just nodded, climbed back in his cab, and pulled off. That night I parked further out than usual. Not in a turnout, not in a lot, just a wide patch off a farm access road I'd used before. Nobody bugs you there. It's dirt, not gravel. No place for steel to hide. I set the brake, killed the lights, and sat in the dark for a long time before crawling into the bunk. Didn't even take my boots off. Something had shifted. I wasn't just watching the weather or the road anymore. Now I was watching the ground under the snow. A few days later, I was back in Sioux Falls, dropped my trailer at the yard, and bobtailed home. Thought maybe I'd let it go, chalk it up to bad luck and a crooked rim. But that didn't sit right. Too many guys in the chat saying me too. Too many of us just eating the cost, hoping we weren't next.
So I decided to file the report, even knowing how it'd go. Did it by the book, sent it in online through the South Dakota DOT complaint portal. Filled out the form, attached the photos, included the coordinates, the time, the damage. It took me 30 minutes. I hit submit. And then I waited. 5 days. Nothing. I called. Got bounced between 3 departments before landing on a woman named Christy who sounded like she'd already had enough of everything that day. "Your complaint was logged," she said, clicking keys. "Status says reviewed." "That's it?" "Yes, sir." "No follow-up? No contact?" "If you didn't witness the obstruction being placed or have a license plate number of the party responsible, then we log it as environmental hazard non-actionable." "What does that mean?" She paused. "It means unless someone claims ownership or it causes a fatality, it doesn't trigger site remediation." "So they're just going to leave it?" "I'm not authorized to speak to field operations." I hung up before I said something I'd regret. Later that night, I was at a Petro off I-80 in Nebraska, sitting in the diner nursing a burger that tasted like cardboard and grease. One of the old school places, real waitress service, seats worn down to the springs. Truckers were scattered across the booths, most of them hunched over plates, dead-eyed from the road. Across from me sat a guy named Hollis. We'd crossed paths before, both of us regulars on the I-90 corridor. Heavy-set, goatee, ran flatbed for a construction outfit out of Kansas City. He saw the pictures on my phone when I was scrolling through them and said, "That the rebar thing?" I looked up. "Yeah? Same turnout you're talking about?" "Mm-hmm." He nodded like it didn't surprise him one bit. "They've been doing that for years. Not just there. Couple spots outside of Sheridan, too. I hit one 2 winters ago. Didn't even know it till I dropped the trailer and saw the gouge in the tire wall. Lucky it didn't blow." "You tell anyone?" "Yeah, my dispatcher. He said, 'Watch the damn road next time.'" "That's it?" He took a sip of coffee, smirked. "What else they gonna do? Nobody wants to touch it. If you say too much, the company starts wondering if you're a problem driver. Can't have that reputation." I stared at him. "You think they know?" "Some do. Some look the other way. It's easier to eat one damaged rim every 6 months than try to fight county politics and pissed off landowners." I shook my head, chewing a bite I couldn't taste. "You see the problem, right?" he said, voice low. "They know we'll keep coming. We're the only ones who don't stop. Cops won't sit there overnight. Locals won't park there. But us? We're tired, we're out of hours, we need a place to crash that won't cost $60 and an argument with a night clerk." "So what, we just live with it?" He leaned forward. "We adapt. Quietly. Tell each other. Mark it down. Keep it off the radar."
You start making noise, and someone's going to make you the noise. You want that? I didn't answer. Didn't need to. I paid the bill and walked out into the cold. The wind had picked up again, sharp and unfriendly. Felt like South Dakota was following me west, riding my tail just out of sight. Next day, I got a message from Benny. He'd started pinning the bad turnouts on a private map. Nothing public, just a shared link in the group. I opened it. There were 6 pins already. 3 in South Dakota, 1 in Montana, 2 outside Des Moines. All labeled the same way. Do not stop. Buried steel. I stared at the map for a long time. Thought about how many others might be out there. How many more we hadn't hit yet. That night, I stopped early. Found a closed-down way station off the shoulder. Fenced off, but enough pavement left to fit my rig. No lights, no noise, no snow hiding anything. I backed in slow, killed the engine, sat in the dark. Cost to the rim, $5.40. Tire, another $3.10. Lost time, lost load bonus, don't even want to tally it. But the real cost? It was this. The way I looked at every turnout now like it was hiding something. The way I drove past them even when I was tired. The way I pulled into empty lots with the brakes already halfway engaged. Nobody tells you about that part. The paranoia, the second guessing. It creeps in mile after mile, till you're not driving anymore, you're just avoiding things. And the worst part? You get used to it. It's been a couple months since that first hit. Since the rebar, the bent rim, the DOT guy who didn't want to talk. And things haven't gone back to normal,
not really. Not in my head, not in how I drive. I'm still running freight, still doing the miles, still chasing the same stupid clock across the same long stretches. But I don't drive the way I used to. I don't think I can anymore. I don't stop at turnouts, not unless they're paved and I can see every inch of ground. Gravel lots are off my list. Same with any pull-offs that haven't seen a plow in a while. I keep moving now, even when I shouldn't. I'll take a hit on my log before I'll roll the dice on another patch of snow hiding someone's half-buried vendetta. I added Benny's map to my phone's GPS. Every time I hear something in the group, another guy with a cut tire or a cracked rim, I make a note. Doesn't matter what state it's in, I pin it. Quiet, no announcements, just keeping track. There's 11 spots now, and if there's 11 we know about, I figure there's at least 20 we don't. I was fueling up in Miles City last week when a new guy parked next to me. Fresh rig, chrome still too clean, new company logos slapped on the side. He asked me how far to Billings, said his ELD was tight. I gave him the time, then told him not to stop anywhere past Hysham unless it was marked. He looked at me like I was speaking Greek, so I told him straight. Bad steel under snow, couple of damaged trailers in the last year. He looked at me like I was speaking Greek.
Why would someone do that? I didn't have a clean answer, not one that fits in a sentence, so I just said, because they can, and nobody's stopping them. He nodded slow, probably didn't believe me, but maybe he'll remember later. I don't tell everyone, just the ones who ask, the ones who look like they'll actually listen. The rest, they've got to learn it the way I did, and I hate that. But that's the road. Some things you've got to feel through the wheel to understand. Company offered me a new route last week. Texas and back, mostly I-35, maybe a little 20. Said the weather's better, more rest areas, less rural nonsense. I turned it down. Not because I like freezing my ass off in South Dakota, but because this is the route I know. I know its lies now. I know where it hides its teeth. Starting fresh somewhere else just means I'd be blind all over again. No thanks. I did change one thing, though. I keep a little laminated card in my visor now. It's got a list of GPS cords and short notes. Not for me, I know them by heart. It's for whoever gets in the truck after me. If something ever happens, they'll know what I saw, what to avoid, what not to trust. And maybe that's all you can really do. Pass it down. Not officially, not through forms or departments or emails that never get answered, just from one driver to another, like it's always been. I pulled into a rest area near the Wyoming line last night. Snow just starting to fall, sky low and heavy. It was late, lot was full, reefers humming, few guys walking their dogs along the shoulder. Everything quiet, like it should be. I parked along the outer edge, kept the wheels on the asphalt. No gravel, no guessing, just flat black surface I could see. I shut the engine down and sat for a minute, hand on the keys, watching the snow come in sideways. I didn't feel angry anymore. I didn't feel scared either, just careful and tired in a different kind of way. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. The kind that comes from knowing too much about how thin the line really is between making it to your stop and getting wrecked by something no one will ever admit is there. And knowing you're going to keep rolling anyway.